official opposition.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. The other day in question period, I asked the Minister of Agriculture and Land to
Yeah. Anyone else? For our first question, I'll call on the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. The other day in question period, I asked the Minister of Agriculture and Land to share the divestiture order that he issued to the Irving surrounding the Brendel farmland holdings. Unfortunately, I didn't receive it. The Minister went on to tell The Guardian that he couldn't talk about the divestiture because that's Iraq's responsibility. But when contacted by The Guardian, Iraq pointed out that it's government that makes those decisions, so it's their decision to whether to share it or not. A question to the Minister. The divestiture order was your decision. It was a decision of your government. Why do you still refuse to be transparent about it?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Land.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And this is an ongoing frustration for me as well, Mr. Speaker, that I'd love to be able to table this, Mr. Speaker, but Iraq is the regulator, Mr. Speaker. They did work with the corporation to come up with the divestiture. They said they were in complete order, Mr. Speaker, and that's all I can do is with that, Mr. Speaker. Thanks.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Well, I think there's frustration on all sides of the House here because here's the thing. The new provisions of the LPA that the Minister keeps turning to actually require the Minister to publish the divestment order. He's refusing to share this one because it happened before April the 1st, and he's not legally required to do so. But just because he doesn't have to do it doesn't mean that he couldn't. There's absolutely nothing preventing you from sharing it. So to the Minister, let's end everybody's frustration, including your own. Why are you using the fact that you don't have to publish this order as an excuse to avoid actually doing it and being transparent?
Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Land.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I will go back to my legal department again and see if there's anything I can legally do here, Mr. Speaker. But as
Can't break the law.
I can't break the law is right, Mr. Speaker.
The Minister has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, when we talk about the situation, Mr. Speaker, I have to go with our LPA 2.0, Mr. Speaker, the new legislation that we improved, that we've learned from this situation, Mr. Speaker, and going forward, Mr. Speaker, we have strong legislation where the Minister and Iraq both have more powers on divestiture and to keep people in compliance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. I mean, the frustration just keeps growing. One place where there's also an ongoing lack of transparency is in discovering which piece of land is actually tied with which corporation. Iraq has said that they themselves can't cross-reference the landholding declarations they get with what's actually in the land registry. In other words, Iraq has to assume on an honour system that corporations like the Irvings are properly declaring everything they should to them. Marrying the land ownership registry with the corporate registry would completely resolve this. Exactly. To the Minister, will you make this change so that Iraq and Islanders are able to see exactly who owns what, or are you satisfied with the status quo, this honour system, which clearly is not working?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Land.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and we'll definitely take all measures we can to show transparency. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
And the frustration grows more. There are all kinds of opportunities to improve transparency here, Minister, and I hear every time I ask a question that somehow your hands are tied or you're not able to do it. You absolutely are able to do the things that I'm talking about here. For Islanders' sake, please make this a transparent process. more opacity. Land transactions are approved via an ordering council, and that means, because of cabinet confidences, that decisions are made with no information available to the public, nor is there any ability to review or appeal those decisions. In other words, where IRAC actually makes decisions, and in other places, where IRAC actually makes decisions, whether that's on oil prices or electricity rates or planning appeals or rental disputes, they provide the public with an explanation for their decisions, and there's an appeals process. Yeah. It's far more transparent than what comes out of Cabinet in these land deals. To the Minister, in your opinion, why is IRAC not well suited to make these decisions, and why is making secret decisions in Cabinet better?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Land.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And there's a lot in that preamble, Mr. Speaker, and I think IRAC does do a good job. I know some people don't think they do their job well, but they do, and we rely heavily on all decisions made in Cabinet on IRAC's recommendations. They are the regulator. They serve this, Mr. Speaker. I'm a fourth-generation farmer, Mr. Speaker. Land is very important to me, Mr. Speaker, and it always will be important to me. And the protection of the land on this island is the utmost important to me, and if the opposition want me to break the law, I find that very disturbing, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. I'd love to see the law that you'd be breaking by providing us with the divestiture schedule. I'd love to see that. And by the way, there was no criticism, explicit or implied, in any of the things I have said. My criticism is of a government that's not allowing IRAC to do their job properly. This minister is very adamant that the updates to the LPA will solve the issues, but the problem is that he seems to be asking islanders to continue to trust his government, to trust them blindly. To the same minister, how are islanders to believe that these issues are being properly dealt with when you still won't share any of the details?